Folks, former President Trump is at it again. This time he's dropped a real head-scratcher. He wants to abolish FEMA. That's right, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The individuals who show up with water in tents after a hurricane could be gone. Trump, during a recent visit to North Carolina, which was hit hard by Hurricane Helene last year, said states should handle their own disasters. He even went as far as to call FEMA ineffective. Now, I'm not a disaster relief expert, but it seems to me that when a hurricane wipes out your town, you want all the help you can get. Trump, though, thinks governors are better equipped to handle these situations. He believes federal aid should go directly to states, cutting out the middleman, because when you're dealing with a natural disaster, bureaucracy is the enemy. This isn't the first time Trump has criticized FEMA. Remember Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico? Trump threw paper towels at survivors and then picked a fight with the mayor of San Juan. He even claimed, without evidence, that the death toll was inflated for political reasons. So, yeah, he's got a history with this sort of thing. Trump's call to abolish FEMA isn't coming out of nowhere. It aligns with a conservative policy framework called Project 2025. This project, folks, is basically a blueprint for what a hypothetical second Trump term would look like. And let me tell you, it's a doozy. Project 2025 advocates for shrinking the federal government dramatically. Part of that plan involves shifting the costs of disaster preparedness to states and localities. The idea is that states know their needs better than the federal government and can therefore prepare more effectively. Now, on the surface, that might sound reasonable, but here's the thing: disasters, by their very nature, are unpredictable. And some states, especially those prone to hurricanes, wildfires, or earthquakes, simply don't have the resources to handle a major disaster on their own. This wouldn't be the first time disaster aid has been politicized. Remember when Hurricane Harvey devastated Houston? Texas Republicans, who had previously voted against aid for Hurricane Sandy victims, suddenly found themselves begging for federal assistance. And Trump, never one to miss an opportunity to throw shade, was quick to point out their hypocrisy. But it goes beyond just pointing fingers. Trump has a history of using disaster relief as a bargaining chip. He threatened to withhold aid from California during the 2020 wildfires unless the state changed its forest management practices. He also suggested tying federal aid for Puerto Rico to the island's debt crisis. This kind of politicization of disaster relief is dangerous. When people's lives are on the line, the last thing we need is politicians playing games with their recovery. Hurricanes and wildfires. When disaster strikes, who responds? Let's talk about some recent disasters and the role FEMA played. Last year, Hurricane Helene slammed into North Carolina, causing widespread flooding and billions of dollars in damage. FEMA was on the ground, providing assistance to those affected. They helped people find temporary housing, provided grants for home repairs, and offered counseling services. Then there are the California wildfires. These fires have become an annual occurrence, and they're getting worse every year. The 2024 fire season was particularly devastating, with the Palisades fire alone causing tens of billions of dollars in economic losses. FEMA was there too, providing support to firefighters and assisting with evacuation efforts. Now, I'm not saying FEMA is perfect. Like any large government agency, it has its flaws. But it plays a vital role in disaster response and recovery, and for many people who have lost everything, FEMA is a lifeline. A nation divided, the future of disaster relief in America. So, what happens if Trump gets his way and FEMA is abolished? Well, it's not clear. He hasn't provided any concrete plans for how states would handle disaster relief on their own. Would they receive the same level of funding? Would there be national standards for disaster response? These are all important questions that need to be answered. What is clear is that there's a fundamental disagreement about the role of the federal government in disaster relief. Some, like Trump, believe that states should be primarily responsible. Others believe that a strong federal response is essential, especially for large-scale disasters. This is a debate we need to have as a nation, because the way we respond to disasters and the way we support those affected says a lot about who we are as a country.